Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. So this IHE-Europe webinar is in collaboration with IHE Catalyst and Xt-EHR Project. So we'll talk about the Xt-EHR Projectathon, the testing of the electronic health record action format, and EHR requirements. So if you can go to the next slide, please, Nicole. Just a little bit of housekeeping, so everybody is muted. Please, during the webinar, use the chat box. We will keep time at the end of the webinar for you to ask questions and have the answer from the different speakers. The webinar is recorded and it will be made available on our YouTube channel, and the slides will be made available on our webpage. So if you can go to the next slide. So hello again, I'm Sofia Franconi from IHE-Europe. So I will do the introduction today. If you can go to the next slide, please. We'll have today on the agenda Andreas Neocleus, the project manager at eHealth National Authority of Cyprus and part of Xt-EHR coordination team. He will talk about the strategic role of the Xt-EHR Projectathon. Then we will have a presentation from the Dr. Arampos Karanikas, who is assistant professor at the University of Thessaly and also Xt-EHR Work Package 8 leader. Then we will have Jürgen Brandstatter, who is senior advisor and GDHP representative for Austria, but also a global standard director at IHE Catalyst. And we will finish with Nicole Vegiotti, who is European Affairs Project Owner at IHE Catalyst also. And a little Q&A. So please put your question in the chat, and if the speakers have time during the presentation, they will answer directly, or otherwise you will be able to speak during the Q&A. So I leave the floor to you, Andreas, for the start of your presentation, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, everyone, for joining this meeting. Next slide, please. Okay, so just an overview why the Xt-EHR Projectathon matters. We have the testable assertions that we are now forming in deliverable 8.2, and we already made an initial work for the outcomes of deliverable 5.1, which describes the general requirements for EHR systems, which means basically the harmonized components, which include the interoperability component and the logging component. So how this interoperability component works, we will see the details later when Harris will describe. To ensure technical readiness of vendors and national infrastructures, to strengthen cross-border interoperability through real-world validation. The objectives to bring European ecosystem of early adopters together, to validate the Xt-EHR logical models, the testable assertions and test plans, to align testing activities with EHDS priority data domains. So this is the plan for this projectathon, to see what we can test for the 5 priority categories together with the general requirements, interoperability component and logic component, to align testing activity, to support the unified conformity framework for EHDS implementation. And what is the impact on EHDS? It provides evidence for scalable, trusted data exchange. It bridges specifications, tooling, and implementation, and it creates momentum toward structured compliance across Europe. So I tried to be brief in my introduction because I think the most important part is the technical part, which will follow now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andreas. And I think it's an important moment of Xt-EHR because we actually, go from theory into practice. And that is really important for all of us, for all the project, and for the coordinator, for all the participants, for IDICA, and for all the partners that we participate in Xt-EHR. But I will start from the beginning, because I think we have audience that are not probably fully familiar with what is about the work that we're doing and the point that we have arrived. The regulation, as we all know, provides a framework of how the European health data space will operate. However, many technical details will be set out in delegated and implementing acts, ranging from technical specifications of the European Electronic Health Record Exchange format to the detailed requirements for EHR system manufacturers when registering their systems. Once these technical details have been finalized, the systems will need to be developed, tested, and deployed. We said that we will say thank you instead of next slide, because we need this with Nicole. So thank you, Nicole. The definition of electronic health record is broad according to the regulation, and this is intentional. It is intentional to ensure interoperability throughout the chain of connected systems. It applies not only to systems that aggregate information, such as hospital information systems, but also to the systems that feed them. These can include small EHR systems within hospitals or GP practices, regional level EHR systems covering continuity of care across hospitals, GPs and municipalities, hospital scale information systems, laboratory systems, radiology systems, and systems transmitting health data among healthcare professionals, just to name a few. In a hospital ecosystem, a typical hospital organization may contain dozens of EHR systems from these different categories. Thank you. In order to be placed on the market or put into service in the EU, EHR systems must contain the two harmonized software components, the interoperability component and the logging component. These components describe capabilities of EHR systems. For example, the interoperability component provides the capability to import-export data that falls under the priority categories in the European format. And there is no requirement that the EHR system must use this format internally. The logging component provides the capability to generate logs that can be used in the health data access service to provide transparency on data access. Thank you. So, specifications are needed. A significant aspect of the European health data space is the establishment of common standards and compliance rules to ensure the interoperability of healthcare data and digital solutions across EU member states. This includes requiring all electronic health record systems to align with the European Electronic Health Record Exchange format, thereby facilitating the seamless exchange of data. The specifications needed are for the priority categories of personal electronic health data and the common specifications with respect to essential requirements. The EHR systems built according to the specifications need to be tested. Conformity assessment framework for EHR is the key concept, and conformity means that a product, service, or process has met the requirements and criteria set by given standard or specifications. In this webinar, we focus on the essential requirements of Annex 2 of the EHDS regulation. Thank you. Annex 2 is the technical backbone of the European health data space. If a software or a medical or AI device handles or interoperates with EU-wide health data, it must comply with the rules set out in Annex 2. Broadly speaking, Annex 2 of the regulation categorizes the requirement as follows: general requirements, interoperability requirements, and security and login requirements. And these requirements are important because they establish a common harmonized standard across all EU member states, meaning any interoperable EHR system or medical device or health app should be usable and trusted across borders. By enforcing interoperability and security, it enables the smooth exchange of health data for care, patient mobility, and continuity of care, while protecting sensitive health data from misuse or unauthorized access. It also provides a framework for assessing software and devices that manufacturers or developers must follow before they can be used, providing a legal and regulatory basis for digital health products across the EU. Thank you. Xt-EHR joint action translated the legal provisions of Annex 2 into technical and functional concepts to inform the development of the common specifications through the comitology procedure. It provides a comprehensive set of functional requirements for the development and implementation of standardized electronic health record systems, focusing on the harmonized software components and key system interfaces of these systems, as defined in the regulation. In addition, this step serves as a roadmap to help manufacturers navigate the future development process of EHR systems that comply with EU standard and address the harmonized components of EHR systems. This distinction ensures that manufacturers understand and implement the specific requirements for core interoperability and login software components alongside broader system-wide features that are essential for providing high-quality, patient-centered care through the efficient and secure management of health data. It is important to note that these are recommendations only, and that the European Commission will lay down the final mandatory requirements in the implementing acts. Thank you, Nicole. To illustrate the interaction between interoperability components and supporting EHR requirements, we will begin with a patient case study. So, our patient arrives at a new healthcare facility for a scheduled cardiology review. His clinical history, including past discharge summaries, medication list, and other information, is stored with his previous healthcare provider, which uses a different electronic health record system. We refer to the electronic health record system that stores the existing records as the producer system. So that is the system that originally created or holds the data that will be served. And the EHR at the new facility is the consumer system, which requests and uses data to support current care. Thank you. So, a sequence of technical and organizational interactions must occur to retrieve and use zones records. This is a simplified diagram, illustrates how interoperability components could be used together in an exchange between a consumer and a producer system. Deployments across the EU today are more complex and may involve additional parties such as national EHR systems and different components of the hospital system. These steps are connected to the requirements of EHR system. Thank you. So, concerning the essential requirements that derive from the Annex 2, we have specified as Xt-EHR, and that was work done by Work Package 5, about 27 requirements defined under this category that ensure compliance with the European Health Data Space. The main aspects of the Conformity Assessment Framework rely on a set of testable assertions that can be implemented. I see black screen. No, it's okay. No problem.
do it. I don't know what happened because I didn't touch
No
the
problem.
wait,
Is the
wait.
devil of the
Yeah, I know,
devil of the
But we
PPT.
are ready. It was this. Yes. Please continue,
No
Aris.
problem.
Sorry.
No problem, no problem. So the main aspects of the conformity assessment framework rely on a set of testable assertions that can be implemented into test tools to verify the conformance of the electronic health record systems. From that list of the 27 requirements, we have specified for automated testing about 20. The rest are to be supported probably with checklists, means for verifications. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you. So, although the initial requirements that have the consensus are expressed in a structured way, as we saw in the previous slides, the level of details that has been chosen is not relevant for the purpose of the conformity assessment. Requirements don't provide the level of details which is necessary to write the testable assertions and derived test cases. Consequently, it has been agreed to propose an example of implementation for each of them. Our purpose was to provide a workable version of the functional requirements to use as input for the CAS content. The result of this work does not claim to be fully operational and in a real-world scenario would require reference to technical specifications adapted to the EHDS context. To fasten the written and the technical requirements and focus on the testable assertions and derived test cases, the provided cast content to support the event in Brussels rely on existing specifications, mainly inspired from the current My Health at EU infrastructure and the IHE profiles. And I think this is a pass later on for Jürgen in order to explain the additional resources that we needed in order to produce these automated testable assertions. The add-on is the third no, I didn't say thank you yet. So the add-on is the third column that you see. So we had the first two columns that were producing for functional requirements derived from the Annex 2, and then we had to suggest to add some details. You see here the details for the IHE PDQM, and maybe Jürgen later on will explain these additional resources from IHE in order for the event in Brussels to have testable assertions automated, feasible to be tested. Because you will see our message is that everybody now will be able to test these requirements in the event in Brussels. And it's really important to have everybody with tangible results and to understand the way we have worked. We had one promise initially in the beginning of the joint action that we are not going, to start from scratch. We're going to reuse existing material, existing resources. Europass was one of our leading projects, and we said that we will not make confusion to the market. The manufacturers will see that they will be able to test the way that they were doing in the past, and that was our promise and our support, and I think that will be important for you to participate in the event of Brussels in the plug-a-thon of Xt-EHR. Thank you, Nicole. So to conclude, all stakeholders have different maturity and readiness levels concerning EHDS regulation and the format adoption. The suggestion is to proceed with an incremental EU declaration of conformity to assist the market progressively based on the regulation timeline. For the conformity assessment and labeling reference in the regulation, the concept of purpose of use is important. And last but not least, open collaboration with stakeholders, especially the industry, is needed. And your opportunity to touch the results and discuss with us and have this interaction in the event will be helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Hello, do you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Yes, very good. Yeah, thank you, Andreas and Harris, for this presentation of the Xt-EHR joint action. My name is Jürgen Brandstätter. I'm from the standards community. I'm from IHE Catalyst. With my part, I would like to give you some more detail on what will happen on this projectathon specifically. However, as you have just heard, the joint action is in full motion. So it's the last month of this. The project is not over. That means the deliverables are not fixed yet, and we are really working hard to get all of the open questions done. And we see already in the chat that there are a few, open questions. That means today you get an overview, and we have a series of webinars planned where you get like a more and more detailed information on what's happening. But so far we can already say, and thank you, please go to the first slide, that the projectathon will be like in a connectathon setting. For those of you who have already participated or seen a connectathon is a big room with a lot of tables where a lot of developers are located on these tables with their devices and laptops and are really performing some peer-to-peer and no peer testing against each other or against validators. A projectathon is in principle the same thing, with the difference that it's not like the international standards tested, but the specifications which are coming from the projectathon. In our case, it will be the specifications and the profiles referenced by the Xt-EHR project to give the participants a clear guideline, where is the direction going. So you must always remember that in March next year, even the joint action is not finished yet, and there are yet some phases to come after the joint action until the final implementation acts are made and we all finally know what the European health data space will be. But what we present here is like a good footstep on the path towards this. And the purpose of this is to get all of you acquainted and familiarized with with the European health data space and its specifications. So the participant spectrum we would like to reach with that are all sorts of vendors who are affected by this. So we are talking about EHR vendors, EMR vendors, but since laboratory and radiology is also the primary domain in EHDS, also of course those hospital information system vendors for the discharge summaries and so on. We would also like to see national e-health teams or digital health authorities showing up, because they usually provide maybe some central services, which are also, of course, in that sense, receiving information according to the European EHR exchange format. So they could also potentially test, and basically anyone else interested in that topic. The test setting, and we had a question shortly coming up in the chat, why it's named the projectathon. It's named the projectathon because we really want to perform some tests. We already heard from participants that they are really looking forward to, and that they already work on some prototypes regarding the specifications of the Xt-EHR. So that means we will have no peer tests, and we will also have peer-to-peer tests, meaning that systems test against each other for the transport. And the agenda of the entire projectathon will be a mix of education and testing. Thank you. So we have two different categories of testing. The one testing is regarding the content, in particular the EHR exchange format, which is currently defined in some FHIR implementation guides, which are maintained mainly in IHE-Europe together with IHE-Europe, who both have teamed up in an activity called EURODIS. You have the link on this slide. So that's so the standards development and profiling organizations in Europe have teamed up for this to ensure that all the standards knowledge is flowing into that in the creation of these specifications. It's finally, since the decision was for FHIR for these clinical document types to create these specifications in form of implementation guides. They are maintained currently in the IHE-Europe space. And you see the links here. It's those 5 data priority categories like e-prescription, e-dispensation, and patient summary. Those are the ones who are already online on myhealth.eu in the old format, in the CDA format. But those here are the new expressions in the FHIR format. And the new use cases, discharge summary, laboratory report, and imaging report, are also maintained here. And those will be tested in a no-peer setting. So that means we will provide validators where you can upload your output of your prototype of your product and to check if it's correct against the implementation guide. Thank you. The other testing is about the transactions, meaning the transport of those contents from one entity to the other. That was quite a demand from the industry that the EHDS regulation also gives some guidance on this, because the transport is certainly important. For that, for the moment, there are some IHE profiles already referenced within Xt-EHR and some working groups attached to it. So we have identified like this set of base infrastructure and security profiles, which are widely deployed in the market already. So we have a consistent time just to make sure that all systems have the same time, which is critical generally, but that's a very easy and basic profile. There is audit trail and node authentication. So everything around security between 2 nodes and basically logging, audit trail. We have internet user authentication. That's all around OAuth and the authentication of the users. And then there is identified the query for existing data. That's the FHIR access to specific data snippets, which is at the moment identified, but this is not, finally decided, but it's identified as a good candidate to be a profile attached or like used in the context of the EHDS. And patient demographics query, the mobile version of it, meaning the FHIR expression of it, for example, would fit to the example what Harris had on his slides earlier. And then the most important and essential profile is MHD, which is basically the profile to query and retrieve such FHIR documents as they are on the previous slide in a FHIR RESTful transaction way. Next slide, please. This is for the transport of all of the use cases, but we have in the imaging use case like a little bit more, because the imaging use case is not only sharing the imaging report, it's also the sharing of the images themselves, namely the DICOM objects. And for those who are familiar with that topic, they know that like dealing with DICOM objects is very much in the domain of the DICOM standards development organization. So they have issued some very prominent standards, which are also widely implemented in the market. The last state-of-the-art access to DICOM objects is VADO-RS, the RESTful access to retrieve such DICOM objects. This has been profiled in IHE in the VR profile, web-based image access. So that's certainly a profile which is of interest for any one of you who are dealing in the imaging domain or who come with products in the imaging domain. There is a brand new profile called Xt-EHR, which deals with the question of cross-community web-based access to those DICOM objects. So because that's a non-trivial problem in how to get, if you think in like XDS affinity domains, how to get that over gateways from one community to the other. And there was one profile especially made because of Xt-EHR, which is called manifest-based access to DICOM objects, MADO. It's, if you will, like an European IHE profile, which is already at this moment put forward to the international IHE radiology domain to make it an international profile. And this profile, and I put in, maybe because some of you do not know about this new thing, I put in, what it is about. It's basically like a profile which is a one-stop shop for getting the imaging metadata, which is, for example, traditionally a COS object, but in newer versions, it's the FIRE imaging study resource. So both ways are possible. And then combine that with the access of retrieving those images with the VADO-RS transaction. So it's sort of like a one-stop shop profile combining some of the other profiles to have one process flow to connect the DICOM metadata with the DICOM images and to retrieve them, because that's exactly what the EHDS would like to give as a requirement. Thank you. The schedule of the the schedule and the program of the Projectathon will be mainly Tuesday to Wednesday. So the actual Projectathon happens. Sorry, that's a mistake on the slide. It's Tuesday to Thursday. Sorry, it's 3 days. We will correct that. Very sorry about that. It's 3 days from Tuesday to Thursday during the Projectathon week to the Connectathon week, and the program will be a mix of education, testing, discussion, breakout sessions, and crossovers to other activities which happen during the Connectathon week. So the purpose is to, or the goal of this Projectathon is to attract both participants who come with systems and want to do some testing, but also, since we know that this is all brand new, we also see that as a sort of a stakeholder engagement activity, and invite everyone else, even if they don't have an implementation yet, to come and listen and learn. So because we will have explanations of the specifications, we will have a lot of the experts who were deeply involved in the making of this on site, ready to be or to get in discussion with the participants, answer questions, and all of that. So please don't be shy, even if you are just at the beginning, you are starting with these things, or you just want to inform yourself about what's going on. Consider to join the Projectathon. You will have enough program to enjoy. Even the testing of the participants who come with some test systems to test will be made up in a way that they don't like just test silently somewhere. It will be made visible to all of the other participants so that they can look over their shoulders and listen and learn also what it means to test the Projectathon, to test your implementation, and also what it means to implement that stuff. So it's also an opportunity to get in contact with those early adopters, of the early ones who come with systems already, to learn from their experiences. For those who come with a system, we have reserved a Monday for preparing the stuff. For those who are familiar with a Connectathon, they know that in the early hours of a Connectathon, all is about, getting the configuration right, getting the connectivity right, and prepare yourself for doing the actual testing. So this will be done on Monday. For those who come with a system, we will make sure that that the registration takes account on this, so that we know who the participants are. We also will see that participants who come with a system are actually already testing on the Connectathon, so they are probably already there. For those, we make sure that they can do their testing for the Xt-EHR very efficient and combine it with their testing for the regular Connectathon. Thank you. Lastly, as I was talking about crossovers, what do I mean by that? So we have this is all in the making still, but we already know that we will have a number of pluggathons for certain EU projects, for example, or other initiatives like Open-EHR, and they all have their own agenda. So, for example, there are the IHE-Europe Experience Days, which are basically presentations for learning that they are happening there anyway. But very prominently, we will have the My Health at My Hands EU project on site in form of a pluggathon. And for those who don't know, the My Health at My Hands project is dealing with the patient-mediated sharing of currently prescriptions, but naturally also of many other use cases in the future. And they deal very much with the wallet architecture. Wallet is, I mean, you probably all know what a wallet is, but Europe is working on an EU wallet for exactly that purpose, for identifying patients and even to store certain objects in it, like, for example, prescriptions. So this project is dealing with the specifications around this. So we will have crossovers naturally to them, and for those who enjoy the Projectathon, they will have the possibility to also talk to the My Health at My Hands people. Same for the I2X. So I2X is a project for industry engagement. They are dealing exactly with the same topic with the EHR exchange format on a different layer. And Open-EHR will also be there, and Open-EHR is considering, or is very interested in the international patient summary implementation in form of Open-EHR archetypes. The international patient summary is, I mean, the story of the European patient summary is a bit like that. All started with the old European patient summary, which then resulted into the creation of the international patient summary. And now it comes back that the new implementation of the European patient summary will be aligned to the international patient summary. So it, like, the grandfather of the international patient summary becomes now like the daughter or the son of the international patient summary in the new FI implementation, which is good, because that means that the European patient summary is not in conflict of the international patient summaries, but it's meant to be like in alignment with it, with maximum, like, for additional constraints which we have in Europe. So international patient summary and European patient summary is pretty close, and we will also have that discussion, of course, in the Projectathon. And just for your information, on the Friday, that means the day after the Projectathon, there will be even the International Patient Summary Summit conducted by the Joint Initiative Council. So just that you know that this is also happening there and could be a potential crossover for you. And I believe that was my last slide. I would now like to give the word to Nicole for giving the organizational aspects, and then I think we should capture all the questions in the chat for the last part.
Thank you, Jürgen. Yes, I will be very, very quick. We will have the IHE-Europe Connectathon week 2026 that will take place from Monday 23 March to Friday 27 of March in Brussels. And the Xt-EHR Projectathon 2026 will take place in the IHE-Europe Connectathon week. As Jürgen said, it will be from Tuesday 24 of March to Thursday 26 of March 2026. And it will be with a very dynamic agenda alternating educational section, testing session, and workshop. And Monday afternoon will be dedicated to connectivity and preparatory tests in Gazelle. It will be at the Egg, about 10 minutes walk from Brussels, Gare du Midi. And we will have the registration period from mid-December to mid-January. Just to remind you, we will have another webinar on the 12th of December at 11 Central European Time, in which we will present the draft agenda of the program and we will launch the registration. And more webinars are coming in the next week, so please stay tuned. And now I think we can rely on the question. I will stop sharing, so I will be able to see you all and to see the chat. And if needed, I can unmute the participants. So,
Nicole, excuse me, Nicole.
Sure.
We have already the first question in the question and answering in the chat. So the first one is, I think, for Jürgen, is we also have test settings including national contact points or simulators of these NCPs? Jürgen.
Here I read the question right now. Would we also have test settings including national? We don't know yet, to be honest. This is a discussion which is currently going on. I mean, the thing is that the testing between national contact points is at the moment organized within the MyTheU, so they have a pretty solid format in how this is tested. We are in discussions if we could use that occasion of the Connectathon to move that testing for that instance to the Connectathon floor, but I believe it's not decided yet. At least I think it's not decided yet. So we cannot say about this. I mean, the main focus, however, of this Projectathon is to, like, the main address are more the vendors which are supplying the local market within the member states, because must always remind that the EHDS has two components. If you want, it's the cross-border exchange between national contact points and national contact points. That's the one thing. But the even more impactful thing is what happens within a member state. And we are dealing a little bit more with that aspect of it, because that's much more impactful for the vendors who are supplying the market in the different countries. I see a hand of Charles. Yeah.
Yeah, just a little bit of a. I am in pretty advanced discussion on the imaging access, the MADU and XC-WADU. So that is encouraging. I would say there is not a decision yet, but I would say that we have the goal to create multiple, let's call them community or pseudo countries with the NCP between them in the case of the imaging use case. So that's, already deep into the study. It just needs a political decision, but it's encouraging.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Good. And also, Jürgen, on what you were saying, I think cross-border within our countries is also important, concepts. So the cross-borders are within the countries, the major one. And if without preparing the national infrastructure and preparing these national, interactions, cross-border will not be possible at the end. But also we have a second question, it was from Martin for the laboratory medical device or middleware. Yes, I think the answer is yes. Instead of that device, you may have a middleware that fulfill the requirements, because it is stated in the regulation that you don't have always, to how the system will operate within, but you need to fulfill, the import-export requirement. So it's not that all subsystems need to operate according to the format if they are able, to at the end to submit or import the data that are in the data categories. And yeah, thank you. And also the other one is just to answer, because I saw some comments also in the chat, in both chats, most of them are in question and answer, but also in the normal chat. And there is a comment from Mikhail about that D8.1 still not consulted, the profiles. And there is also a comment in the chat that if we will have presentation of additional data priorities, because today we discussed for the essential requirements and the testable assertions for the essential requirements that derive from Annex 2. We say that this is open. This is open, and probably we need to work on discussions and preparing the material. And in the next webinars, you will be informed for additional requirements. That means for discharge report or for the imaging. And this is work that we will do with Esther, because we want to prove that stable requirements that have the consensus, will be able to be tested, because there is a lot of work doing, currently, and Jürgen presented, so many projects. And Jürgen, at the end, technical interoperability is simple instead of the human interoperability and the project interoperability. Because at the end, I think the developers and the manufacturers need to see one reference point to do the job. Now, currently, we have parallel initiatives and parallel projects, but it is important that all of them will be at the event, and we need, to support this interaction between different projects in order to inherit, a common approach. And at the end, we need one product. We need to fulfill one need, the exchange of the data and the data priorities, and we have to be in line. I don't know if you have seen, Jürgen or Nicole, other questions.
Yes, there is a question from Kevin. I think you answered the last question was from Diogo that you answered now. And then I have a question. I remember to all of you that you can raise your hand and speak if you are not too shy. But otherwise, there is a question from Kevin asking, are the fire document solution, example, IPS laboratory report, discharge report, etc., intended for cross-border use cases? The reason I ask is within the English region, Northwest Genomics, I'm working, and it mentions several profiles are more common at the moment.
Yeah, so the answer to this is yes, they are basically the template for both. So as you know, between the national contact points, we have these what we call PIVO documentation, which is like everyone needs to commit to transport the documents cross-border. So those implementation guides will be used for that purpose, but they shall also be used within the country. So it's two purpose. And this also relates a little bit to this earlier question about the terminologies. So this is, of course, a very complex discussion, because it's like comparable easy to agree on an exchange format between countries, but which you can, or you need to map to if you want, from your own country if you want to ship it cross-border, but it's a different piece of cake if you discuss that within a country. So the EHR exchange format was clearly designed for getting more convergence between the member states, of course. So it's definitely for that, but the question is, how to which extent do we reach that practically? Because in each member state you have may or may not have some different specialties in here and there, you know, and this usually needs time to converge to each other until we finally have like this one district summary, which is the same in each member state. You can imagine that this is a big thing, and we don't know how fast we get there. So, and this is one part of it are the terminologies which are used in the different countries. For example, in northern countries, we use NPU for laboratory tests, and in other countries we use LOINC. You know, these are very traditional things, which is a bit hard to, you know, harmonize. So, but the format itself, of course, shall be the template for the formats within the member states. And I can also say for Austria, for example, we are now working already on like the next generation of laboratory report, radio report, which are things which are already shared in Austria. For the next generations of these document types, we of course try to orient ourselves to this European format to be aligned as good as we can, ideally 100%, but yeah.
And I think Jürgen, the key word there is that not the same everywhere, but at least a minimum consensus on the minimum datasets that we need to support. We shouldn't forget always the patient mobility, the cross-border services, healthcare services, because this is our intention, to support cross-border healthcare services and support patient mobility. So on this, in order to this to be feasible, we need a minimum, at least consensus on the minimum datasets, not to make everything the same, but at least with a minimum. And I think this will motivate all of us on our work and on our discussion, because this is something for the society and for the citizens. It's not for us, the technical guys, and we will have job to do, but at least we need to make this happen.
I also see in the chat a lot of questions regarding the imaging profiles and generally some imaging related questions. So thanks for Bas and Charles and the others who have already answered this a lot. I would like, and I really would like to advertise that you consider coming to the IHE-Europe working group meeting next week. I hope that you already registered, to be honest, because I know that the registration is closed already. But in that next week, there will be intensive work on exactly all of this. So we will have work there on all of these content profiles, which I mentioned on this one slide. But we also have work there on the transport profiles, which I had on this other slide, in form of an API for health data spaces session. Bas has or Mark, anyone has already put that in the chat. So this is currently all under discussion and not decided yet. So if you are there, please engage in Cologne next week. We have a hand of Andreas.
Thank you, Jürgen. Yes, what I want to say regarding the deliverable 8.1, okay, I understand it's not shared yet. This deliverable explains the framework, the conformity framework. One part of it is this, the other part is the classification of EHR systems, and then we have these profiles that they will basically define the obligations for the manufacturers, which is able to populate for the producers and the consumers display and process. But this is a complete picture. It doesn't mean that for the projectathon we will use or we will test the whole models for the obligations. So what I can say now as a proposal is that in our logical models in Xt-EHR, for example, in patient summary, we have a number of sections that the cardinality is 1-to-1. So in this case, we already know which are the mandatory ones or the ones that they need to be tested and to have a value principle. And therefore, we will focus at least on those elements. So we have the allergies, the problems, medication summary, and so on. So these ones are most probably the ones that are going to be tested, and we will follow the soonest with specific examples what needs to be tested. So it's not it's everything out there. Okay, we're not asking you to guess, but you can see which ones are the mandatory from today, and then in the following days or maybe in 1 week or so, we will come with a solid proposal for what to be tested there.
Thank you, Andreas. I cannot see any comment. Last was Charles. Thanks, Charles. He put his email if you want to access to the module profile specifications. Are there any other questions from the audience? Seems not. Okay, as Sophia put in the chat, we will post the slides and the recording, and if you have any additional question after the webinar, you can contact me or Sophia directly, and we can forward to the speakers of today. So see you the 12th of December. I would like to thank all the speakers on behalf of IHE-Europe and IHE Catalyst. And thank you for the participation of the Xt-EHR project. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.